Lincoln once said, in the end, it's not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years. Abraham Lincoln's life has indirectly influenced all of us as we live here in America. It's so evident that in the personal interviews that I conducted on September 21st of this year, 73% of you said that you thought Abraham Lincoln was a good president in your eyes. I've always been drawn to the life of Abraham Lincoln, and that led me to independently study him over time. Studying President Lincoln's life can give us lessons for our own. So not only am I going to give a very brief synopsis of some of his accomplishments, I'm going to touch on a couple of aspects that I think are noteworthy. That includes his religious beliefs and his depression. But first, let's get started with an overall sense of what he did in his life. So in Richard Brookhiser's book, Founder's Son, published in 2014, we learned that Abraham Lincoln, born in 1809, was a self-taught lawyer. In 1832, he joined the Army as a captain for a few months. In that same year, he won his first public election, running for the Illinois House of Representatives, which started his political career. He eventually rose to the presidency in 1860 as our nation's 16th president. The biggest takeaway from Lincoln's accomplishments is that his rise to the presidency isn't too much unlike many of the politicians in our nation now. And he shows the capacity for every citizen to become a part of the political process and to become an integral figure in the political sphere. Now, throughout his life, Lincoln had to wrestle with many personal issues and personal stances that he had. And this includes religion. In Stevens Mansfield's book, Lincoln's Battle with God, published in 2012, we learn that Abraham Lincoln was very much so a religious skeptic when he was younger. But later in life, he seemed to be more amiable to the prospect of God and religion. When Abraham Lincoln was pretty young, in his early 20s, he used to read a lot of books by deist authors. And one of these authors was Thomas Paine. In fact, Thomas Paine once wrote, "All national institutions of churches appear to me no other than human inventions set up to terrify and enslave mankind." This influenced Abraham Lincoln incredibly, so much so that he wanted to write an extended essay criticizing the belief in God and Christianity. As the story goes, he was reading his extended essay to a friend as he was hoping to publish it. As the friend read the essay, the friend realized the danger in Abraham Lincoln publishing this essay, because he knew it would damage his career. He knew that if Abraham Lincoln was to publish something that was so anti-Christian in a Christian-driven society, that he wouldn't go anywhere in his political career. So as the story goes, once Abraham Lincoln was done reading the essay to his friend, the friend took his essay, went over to the furnace and threw his essay in the fire, thus saving Abraham Lincoln's career. Yet, you learn that Abraham Lincoln later in life seemed to have accepted some form of deity and became less hostile to Christianity. In fact, in his presidency, he called for a national day of fasting. On March 30th, 1863, Abraham Lincoln proclaimed, "It's the duty of all nations, as well as of men, to own their dependence upon the overruling power of God, to confess their sins and transgressions." He goes on. So we see that Abraham Lincoln's position on religion changed. No one knows for certain if he actually personally converted to any particular religion, but we do see that he became more open to the idea of God. His religious journey encourages us to examine our own stance on the prospect of the Almighty. Along with his religious journey, he had to grapple with something far more menacing, and that's his depression. In Joshua Wolfshank's article, Lincoln's Great Depression, published in 2005 for The Atlantic, we understand the depth of Abraham Lincoln's depression. In fact, the article reports that one of his friends, in describing Abraham Lincoln, said that his melancholy dripped from him as he walked. In his lifetime, Abraham Lincoln often would write and read very melancholic poetry. He had a number of depressive episodes in his life, and he had to even be put on suicide watch by his friends a few times. At one point, he wrote to one of his law partners saying, "I am now the most miserable man living. If what I feel were equally distributed to the whole human family, there would not be one cheerful face on the earth." And yet, it doesn't seem that Abraham Lincoln's depression crippled him or prevented him from doing great things with his life, accomplishing a lot of things. The article goes on to say that Lincoln didn't do great work because he solved the problem of his melancholy. The problem of his melancholy was all the more fuel for the fire of his great work. What's interesting to me is that Abraham Lincoln, instead of trying to do away with his depression, he used it as a fuel to propel him to accomplish the things that he did. It became an integral part of his character. It's also interesting to think how we look at depression now as a character flaw, but for Abraham Lincoln, it was essentially a virtue. So along with ascending to the presidency, Abraham Lincoln had to come to terms with his faith and command his depression. Some takeaways from his life is that we learn that we are able to propel or able to excel in our profession. We should ponder on our purpose here in life, and we should never discount the strength of the human spirit. And most importantly, Lincoln makes us truly consider life in our years.